Oh, is it?
Not much.
Oh, maybe we should wait.
Are you ready back there? Or do we have 3 minutes?
Yeah, we're still early. That clock's fast.
Okay, maybe we should just wait the 2 minutes. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Betsy, you were early.
Yeah, look at that.
3 minutes.
It counts, right?
I heard all. But then,
Uh-huh. We had hayride, like flatbeds coming in.
it's because the weather was so nice.
It was beautiful.
Well, it was really cute. In town, it was adorable. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole family was dressed
I
up.
love it.
It was one of the cutest things I've ever seen.
I'll be ready next year.
I will
Well,
be
they
too.
didn't come in regular places like that.
Well, I sat on my steps from Candy,
Oh,
they
yeah,
took it.
you probably did.
I saw a lot of people
All right,
sitting out on
we're
the
ready.
porches
Okay.
with-
Ready? Yeah. Hmm.
Maybe like take super good notes while I go through all that name.
Okay.
Okay. That's a can do. If it's here and there, we should be good.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the November 2nd regular meeting of the Historic Preservation Review Board. Welcome to everyone. This is a citizen board appointed by the town council to interpret and uphold the Historic Preservation Ordinance. Our aim on this board is to provide a positive bridge between the property owners of the district and the design review process. So you're welcome to today's meeting. We'd appreciate if when you come up to speak, if you would introduce yourself and give us your address. And there'll be a short review of your project by the staff before we'll need you to come up and address the project. So let's go forward then with a roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Here.
Mr. Owens?
Here.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Here.
Mrs. White?
Here.
And Mr. Giesler?
Here. Okay, now we need approval of the minutes from the September 7th, 2022 regular meeting. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve them?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Abstain.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Giesler?
Aye. And then approval of the October 5, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? Not, is there a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion, but Mike, you have to second it because you're the only 3 people there.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Abstain.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Abstain.
And Mr. Giesler?
Aye. Okay, first, certificate of appropriateness for 108 North Court Street, David Dalton, owner. So we have a staff
Okay,
summary.
yeah, Gabe is out sick tonight, so I have a lot of talking to do. So this first request is for David Dalton, who's the applicant, owner, and Nathan Berg's the representative. They're requesting approval of a certificate of appropriateness to install a draft system on top of the 2 chimneys seen from North Court Street. So Exhibit A shows the two chimneys here that are on North Court Street, and Exhibit B is showing the request that they're looking for. According to Places and Time, Volume 1, the structure was built in 1803 and is known as the William King House. The applicant is proposing to install these two cone-shaped draft systems on top of northern and southern chimneys located on either side of the structure. And this is obviously in response to building code requirements that we have. So I have nothing else. If the applicants would like to add any information, you're more than welcome.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. Nathan Berg, 24383 Walden Road, Abingdon, Virginia. Just a little bit of background of why these are needed. Mr. Dalton would like to install some gas logs, specifically in the cellar of his house. If any of you have a chance to see that, that's a pretty neat space, and obviously the addition of gas logs would make that even more inviting and usable for him. Currently, the existing chimneys, specifically the chimney to the right, does not conform to existing building code. Building code requires that the termination of a chimney be 2 feet above and 10 feet away from another structure. And the reason for that is without that, the chimney won't draft properly, and you can potentially get gas or smoke into the building without that. These are mechanical draft assist devices. Basically, they have a fan that helps pull the smoke or the gas and dissipates it appropriately.
Up and out.
Up and out. Yep. And that's basically that's it.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or?
I do. Could you, I mean, of course, what we're mainly interested in is the inconspicuousness of it. So could you just explain how this one was chosen?
Yes, so for several reasons. One being that this particular maker meets all of the requirements that are set forth in the building code. I think I've included the language and the code section that kind of outlines what the requirements that the system have to meet. Secondly, this is a metal and darker colored system. Some of them are stainless steel and bright and would not really fit in very well, be conspicuous. So those are the main reasons, just the fact that this would meet the requirements for building code, then also that it is metal. I believe the historic guidelines require that a chimney cap be made of masonry, metal, or I believe terracotta, or I can't remember the exact wording, but this would fit within the guidelines for a chimney cap. These are really, if you drive down the historic district, there are several houses that have some type of a cap, whether that's a spark arrestor, something that keeps sparks from flying out, or something that keeps birds or rain from coming into the chimney. Aesthetically, it just looks very similar to those types of caps.
What's on the existing chimneys?
There's nothing. It's
Oh, so is this a rendering you've?
that is right. That's a rendering of what it would look
This
like.
picture, I guess.
Okay.
So they're going to appear very much like many of the chimney caps throughout the historic.
They would look, from a casual observer would think that they were just traditional chimney caps. So if you look at even Jeff Johnson's house, I was walking up and he has something very similar at the Silversmith Inn. You can see here on the Penn Stewart building that the chimneys have a device that looks very similar to what we would be proposing. And there's, about every other chimney has some type of a cap.
That's right.
All right, is there, are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve them.
Okay, is there a
I'll
second?
second the motion.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye. Thank you. I think you might be up again.
I am, that's why.
Okay, next is Nathan Berg for exterior changes at 201 East Main Street.
Okay, so Nathan Berg has requested approval for certificate of appropriateness to construct a staircase within an easement that was granted by the town of Abingdon onto the existing town sidewalk. The property is located at 201 East Main Street. So the background on this project, as most of you know, is that there is a project that is nearing completion. And one of the requirements from the building code was to provide egress here from this doorway that we have identified onto Main Street. There's 3 existing steps. They have, as you can see here, brick treads. They're located immediately outside the door of the southeast corner of the structure. The base of the exterior is concrete with stucco, and currently they have a very simple iron railing painted black. Currently, if you all were to go by it, there's a wooden staircase structure that's built over the existing steps, and that was built to satisfy their temporary certificate of occupancy. The easement was granted to the applicant on October 20th to increase their encroachment into the town-owned sidewalk and to construct the required stair egress. So the area is roughly 8 feet 3 inches by 13 feet 3 inches. They're proposing, and I'll show you the design here.
Page 9 on ours.
It's page 9. And I'll bring it up here for the public to see, but they're basically proposing a double staircase going in both directions, as you can see here, with stucco overcast in place and concrete to match the existing wall. The reasoning behind this is also provided here. If you understand the direction that we're looking at, the requirements for emergency egress is that the door must swing outward. So when the door was required to swing outward for this emergency exit, they were required then to put a landing here so that if people in an emergency were coming out of this door, they would go out onto this new landing. The applicants originally proposed just 3 steps going in one direction. Further discussion at the town council meeting and with the granting of the easement, there was a discussion about having 2 railings coming down both sides and creating a more symmetrical look onto Main Street. So with that, that is what they are requesting tonight, and if you have any questions for the applicant, they're here to discuss their project.
Is there anything you need to add to that?
I mean, that was a great summary, Mayanna. Again, the goal would be to basically match the existing materials and architecture as closely as possible. So the face of the landing would be cast in place concrete, which is what the foundation currently is, and then we would stucco that. And the stucco we would stain it and do a patina to basically blend it into the existing stucco. So that would look, like it was original. The landing and the treads would be brick pavers. Again, that is the existing brick steps. The existing steps have brick pavers on them. And then the black iron railing would match something similar to what is on the Court Street side, that is the little guardrail that goes around the small stairwell leading to the cellar. So that's basically it.
Are there any questions or comments?
I had a question about the sloping sidewalk.
So that
You're showing the same number of risers.
I know,
Is there
that-
going to be an issue with you're gaining several inches there as you go downhill.
You are, so there will be one addition, and it's not shown in that drawing, but I believe there will be one additional riser on the right-hand side.
And so you'll have, to divide that distance, but you'll still be within the range of allowable
Right.
risers by
Yeah,
code.
potentially, yeah, it'll be a little bit tricky. We'll have to stay below 7 inches, which is what I think code, it might be a little bit more than 7 inches. But potentially you could have a different, a slightly different rise and run on one side versus the other. That wouldn't necessarily pose a problem because visually it would read the same. We're talking within, a half inch or something. But I haven't actually run the exact math on exactly what the rise and run dimensions would need to be. But from my rough measurements, I believe we'll have to add one more tread on the downhill side to make up for that distance.
Is the railing going to match the same railing on the rooftop?
It would be the same, yeah, exactly the same profile as on the rooftop.
So is the rooftop railing painted black? Or
Mhm.
it's not some kind of a
It's black
finish?
iron that's been painted.
But you're gonna paint it this as well?
Yes, this
That's what
would
it says.
be, right, painted as well, within the lamb's ear, where the rail comes to an end to it, the little lamb's ear.
Mhm. It's going to look like the one that's going down to the cellar. around the
Similar to
corner.
that, yeah, and it's very similar also to the old courthouse as well, or the bank, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they have the same handrail there.
They have the same,
Yeah.
it's black
Mhm.
iron with the lamb's ear on the end.
Mhm.
Are there any further questions? Not, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the application as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
The roll call?
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn? Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler.
Aye. Okay, next is certificate of appropriateness for the Avenue United Methodist Church.
Okay, so this one is Glenn Patterson is the applicant owner, and they're requesting approval of certificate of appropriateness to replace a back door and transom window. This property is located at 115 East Main Street. And I'll bring up the image here so the audience can see it, and those at home. This is there's kind of a couple of things here, but the replacement of the metal storm door that is in the pictures on page 7 is waiver eligible. They want to replace the metal storm door with a like-for-like replacement. What has to go through the COA application process is the applicant is proposing to replace the existing wooden back door that's painted white. It's currently located in the courtyard facing north, and they would like to do the image that you have here on the screen and on page 8 in your packets. It's a 6-panel fiberglass door. In addition to replacing the wooden door, the applicant's looking to replace what appears to be a louvered window. So here at the top of it, with a 1-pane transom window. Neither the door or the transom opening width and height would change. So if the applicant is here and wishes to discuss it, they can.
Welcome.
What we currently have is inside as you're looking from Plum Alley to the back of the parsonage, there's a brick wall that's, not sure what the technical term is, but it's the ones with the openings,
Oh, yeah.
kind of the perforated look. The door that we need to replace is behind that. It's largely obscured from Plum Alley, and it's pretty well recessed from Plum Alley, and it's only accessed, there's limited view of that. Currently, what we have is a hollow core, kind of a luan door, and it's rotted out at the bottom. There's significant rot there, as well as a pet door that we're going to eliminate. But our concern was that in going back with wood, we're concerned that we're just going to replace one wooden door with another, and we'll still have the same kind of rotting issue. We were hoping that you would approve the fiberglass, since visually it will be indistinguishable from the road, and since the door isn't accessible within probably 12 feet, even if you go into the yard, without going into the courtyard itself. And the current door is a flat panel. We'd like to go with a 6 panel because it's going to be considerably more attractive. And I think it's probably going to be more in keeping with what would have been appropriate when the house was built. The window above it's something of an unusual design. It's louvered in about 4 small panels that crank out. The rep that I talked to at Doors and More referred to it as a jealousy window, and said that it's not common in this part of the country. There's considerable issues with insulation, and what we have is not attractive, and it's no longer functionally viable. So we just like to take that out completely and put in a double pane transom window to replace it.
Would it be functional, the double pane, or is it just a solid?
No, it's just solid.
And then clear or not frosted?
Clear.
Diana, can you go back one?
So this is the door right here
Yes.
inside the courtyard, so not a lot of it's seen from Plum
Yes,
Alley.
that's correct.
Can you get a little closer?
I can't actually,
Oh,
it's- yeah.
Are there any other questions, observations? It doesn't appear that's an original door or transom.
Hmm?
I doubt it.
Well, I'll get the ball rolling by making a motion to approve it. You know, it is on the rear, it is on an addition, and it is minimally seen, and it's probably an improvement, and a necessary improvement.
I would say so.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call?
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is a certificate of appropriateness for Sonder, 152 East Main Street.
Okay, Sonder is the applicant owner and Jerry Signs is the representative. They're requesting a a certificate of appropriateness for a sign. The proposed sign, this proposed signage will be hanging from the underside of the porch. They are proposing a CNC carved HDU. And the image that you can see here on the screen, this is where the Abingdon Olive Oil Company used to be. It's the Greenway Trig building, so you all are probably fairly familiar with it. The sign, I think probably the primary question here is that they're proposing to install a 48 by 12 inch sign that says Sonder. So that is within our 4 square feet. They are requesting to also have this image, and they indicated that this is 3.75 square feet, and they are indicating that it's an element that represents the Greenway Trig. I will say that, you know, it is the N from Sonder is also obviously represented in this, and I think the main question tonight is just that normally in our code, we ask for 1 sign, no more than 2 signs per building, or 1 sign per business, whichever is greater. And as you all are probably familiar, there is another business, Peddling Jacks, who will be coming in to request signage at a later date, who is also going to be a tenant in here. So the one thing I would ask the applicants or their representative tonight is just more explanation on the second sign, what it represents. Is it truly another business within the building, or, is it somehow related to the existing one? And then another question was brought up by by one of our board members, and it's not something that we put in the application, but they do have a set of string lights that have been placed at the front of the structure that you can see here, as well as here. And our code indicates that landscape lighting is actually is required to be underground or at a ground level and pointed upward. We don't exactly have language that allows for string lights as far as landscaping lighting. So if you all would like to discuss the sign first, and then if you want to have further discussion about the lighting, I provided you some images of it there as well. So with that, I have nothing else.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Okay, so I guess you guys ask kind of what questions that you have. And
Yeah, if
go
there's
from
anything
there.
you'd like to add to that, if not, we can just start in with questions.
The Sonder Home and Travel is the business on the low right-hand side of the Greenway Trade Building. It's home decor, a lot of different things, nice. And the sign on the right would be for specifically that business. The center leaf that is representative of the Trigg Building is for a bed and breakfast, which is the other rooms that are upstairs. They're actually two separate companies, but style-wise, they like to keep things true and look nice, keep it looking nice so that it blends in.
So it actually would be one sign per business?
Yes, sir.
These two?
Yes, sir.
And then Peddling Jacks would be another business?
Yes, sir. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there used to be this
Yes.
giant monstrosity of
Multi-tenant sign.
a piece of wood. You know, for me, I feel like, of course, this is going to look better. It's going to be classier. It's going to blend in more, and not take away from the building itself, because it looks awesome now that they've cleaned it out, and it looks really nice.
Does anyone have any questions or observations?
I guess I'm just confused about the nature of the business. So there's actually two distinct businesses operating right there, plus then we have Peddling Jack, so that's three businesses, which would give a total of 3 signs ever. Like nothing in the back, nothing on the side. You don't have any other plans to put anything else, signage out, nothing else.
Where's Peddling?
I can address that a little bit more. I'm Mark Altizer. I think I know most of you all. I'm the project manager. And we actually did away with not only the signs that were out there, that billboard, and there were signs on the building that were deteriorated and ugly. So we actually have less signs than have ever been there in my memory. So, and yeah, it's 2 distinct businesses, Sonder Stay, and then we have our short-term stays. 2 distinct businesses. It's not a bed and breakfast. We have.
No, I didn't ask you that. I'm just wondering how many, because sometimes when people come in, I'm not saying you, but they want these signs, and then the next thing we have, oh, they have to park in the back, and they don't know which is our business. We need to put another sign back there. I just want to be on record that this is it for signs for these 2
Well,
businesses.
and there could be signs in the parking lot, potentially.
Oh, that would be a problem.
But we don't have them out there yet, but, I mean.
I guess what I'm saying is that we're trying to control the amount of signs, and we've been really, really strict.
We've got fewer signs though than have
I
ever
know,
been
no, but
there.
I'm saying
So
we've
that's-
been really, really strict with some recent sign approvals and complaints and stuff in the town. So I'm just trying to go on record saying, this is it for signs. 1 sign per business is our policy. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. and,
So this does comply with that.
yeah, it complies
Okay.
with that. You did kind of hang them up before you were supposed to.
Well, those were temporary, those were temporary. But, I mean, it was, we had our grand opening, I don't know if any of y'all got by, but, I'd like to, welcome you all and, please come by and look. We'll give you a personal tour.
Okay, could you go back to the other picture? I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. There was actually the big sign, and then there's some signs on the front of the building.
Yeah, yeah.
Neon.
If
Yeah,
you
we don't really
scroll
control what's
out-
behind the window, though. but-
Okay.
But yeah.
But we're not gonna be neon, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So the pedal and jack will be,
Far left-hand side, if you're looking directly
I mean,
at
equally
the building
spaced from
itself.
from the center.
Yes.
I know that's not really, doesn't matter, but is that gonna be the same sign they had before, or are they gonna do a new sign?
I believe they're gonna be transferring the existing sign that they had, which they were in the historical district.
Yeah.
Yeah,
previously.
we
Yeah.
approved that
Yeah.
sign on the old location.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other,
Well, are we gonna address the
Questions?
lighting?
well, I think we should
Separately.
They're
move on
separate
this
thing,
first.
okay.
For clarification for me on the, like, signs in the back parking lot and stuff like that, I mean, they're allowed to have like a parking sign, aren't they?
Not hanging on the building.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
But as far as.
Now, there is another, there is a fourth business in the building, Charles Vest. And he's in the rear of the building. And he has an existing sign on the building, which probably is not, I mean, it's been there for, I don't know how long.
Well, the
it's been
guidelines,
there,
the
Bob,
guidelines
but-
allow one sign
One
per
per
business,
business.
so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
That's no
that
problem.
would, there might be
Right.
a replacement of that. He's built his own studio, so.
Yeah.
No, we would not have the need for additional signs on the building.
So we'll just deal with this on the front of the building.
Yeah, these two.
Okay, are there any further questions? If not, are we ready for a motion?
Move we approve the signs as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens? Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White? And Mr. Geisler?
Aye. All right, thank you. And so, on the lighting issue, I mean, I feel like that our guidelines don't really address this. I mean, we address landscaping, lighting, but that's not what this is.
What is this, though?
Well, it's
That was
something we don't
event
know.
lighting.
Is it
It's-
coming down?
It can come down. We
Yeah,
made it.
we
so
don't have
it's-
other lighting like that in the
So
historic
it's
district at that
temporary.
level.
Well, we have lighting like that on the Summers building. We have some lighting like that in the courthouse cupola. We have, I mean, it's
But
sort
Tavern.
of, it's
But
sort of.
that's not at
it-
ground level.
It's sort
The
of
tavern.
becoming more and more, people are wanting to do it. I think probably we need to maybe address it at some point and decide what we're going to do rather than just
Yeah.
try to hear out.
Well, I drove by there and it just kind of looks like it was thrown up. I mean, it doesn't look like it's been installed permanently.
No, I don't think it is permanent.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, it's just an
Okay,
event
so-
light.
It's not permanent. But, again, look, we've got $1 million investment there, and we don't want to get fouled up over a string of lights, that's for sure. So, guidance would be great. What, when we have an event, if we can do temporary lighting, or, I think I understand the landscape lighting and it's supposed to be recessed, like if we line the sidewalk or something like that. That's pretty clear in the
It's pretty
regs,
clear,
yeah, that's,
So the only other, so the lighting sections in your code are section 21, lighting for buildings. And that's really about like the lighting on the porch, for example. All of that needs to be facing downward. Then there's lighting for porches and exterior walls. And probably the only thing that applies here is 22D, freestanding fixtures should be compatible with the style, scale, and period of the associated building. So if I was interpreting this code, I'd say that this is a freestanding light fixture. And so,
Yeah, and I think it's event lighting, it's just what's going on with restaurants, things around town, just temporary.
Sort of like Christmas trees.
Festive
and-
lighting, yeah.
And temporary signs and.
So would you require it to come down between events, or are you allowing it to be up permanently?
I prefer it be temporary. But that's just, I mean, we don't have, that's up to them, I guess, or,
I think we sort of need to have a full discussion about
yeah.
this topic and get everybody's views and sort of come up with a comprehensive plan instead of just having a 5-minute
Mhm.
reaction to something and trying to make a policy.
Sometimes, Mark, we run into things that aren't covered in our guidelines.
No, and I get that.
And this is one of those, and,
Yeah.
and in retrospect, we think, why did we never think of this? But then things come up like this, then you think, well, it's something we do need to address, so we don't have a good answer.
Right.
You know, I kind of agree with Christie that I'd rather it be temporary, but how long is temporary? You know, we gotta have these discussions and
Sure.
map
I mean,
that.
I know like, signage, I think you're allowed to have a temporary sign for 14 days or something. But
14 days, 5 times.
Here you go, Ron, got you for you.
I should let you talk about the lighting.
Do we have any work sessions coming up, I guess, once we have?
I mean, we can, I guess for me personally, for a compliance case, I guess today, if you all, you know, I would like to hear a motion or some discussion on whether or not they should take it down, or if you're just leaving it up, only, you know, for our sake, on our side of things.
They are solar, if that means, if that's worth anything, and we don't leave them on. Actually, I've got them turned off with the switch, but yeah, guidance, because moving forward, we just want to,
Right.
like I said, we don't want to get tripped up over a string of lights.
Right.
That's for sure.
How long, when you say they're temporary, are you keeping them up through the holiday season, or do you have?
We didn't have any plans, Mike. I mean, we just, we put them up and we hadn't removed them. I mean, we're just, we were, so we had the opening this weekend, so.
Are you gonna have any more events in this month as far as an opening goes?
Possibly.
Well, Mark, the other thing, I mean, you're using the Edison bulb, which is a nicer bulb and stuff, but if this is what you're putting up, what's gonna stop somebody else from putting something up that doesn't use a better bulb? Or, I think we do probably need to come up with a
Right, no, I get it,
policy.
Cindy.
And if you don't mind just making them temporary until we can come up with a policy,
For
would
sure.
that be okay with you?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm getting at as far as how can we be accommodating to you for a short period of time?
I mean, I can drop them, tonight, as far as that goes.
Well, I mean, but I think what you all were saying is if we're just agreeing right now that these have not been approved as a permanent structure, then we could have some time to sort out what guidelines we might
Yeah.
want to put in place, and they could stay as they are right now with the understanding that they're just going to be temporary. We're not permanently approving them. Is that?
I mean, that's
So you
fine,
hear
too.
it?
So the only, it's not a risk, but we may come back and say, you've got to take them down.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more than fair, or if there's a way to accommodate them, because it is becoming a thing. People are trying to utilize all their spaces, and I don't want someone stepping off the wall out there, something like that.
And it probably is the larger discussion to me, honestly, is whether or not, in the winter when it gets dark early in the evenings, in order to encourage people to use the downtown, it seems like you would want a light. I mean, I know it's used in a lot of other countries, like I've been to Germany where they have the festivals, and so the downtowns really try to light up and make it like a real interesting place to be downtown in the winter when it gets dark at 5:15.
Well,
So.
because our porch lighting, which is it's what's been there forever. I mean, it's not very good. It's pretty dim, and we do have we do have people arriving at odd times sometimes, and it just, I mean, it does help in that regard.
Well, I agree here with Mariana that this is, well, I mean, it's a happy thing that we're dealing with. Our historic district is becoming very busy, lots of restaurants and lots of people walking around. And as it gets dark earlier, this is probably something that's going to be a good thing. But it would be nice for us to be able to step back and really talk about it in a little bit of a work session.
No, that's, I understand
So I
that.
agree with that, as we just let it be, and with the understanding
Yeah,
that
just
it's temporary, and we'll get back to it.
Keep us in the loop on it, and, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I think
very
Brian would like a
reasonable,
motion
thank
on
you.
that. Can you make that?
It's not really an application. Do we need them?
Yeah,
Take
We
any
need to
action?
discuss it
It's-
at a new work session. and
It's
then-
fine if that's what you all want to do, is just discuss it. I'll take that, and we just,
Yeah.
you know, we'll go forward and say it's temporary lighting for now.
Right.
Maybe we could schedule a work session at the end of tonight's meeting and then address this
Mhm.
there.
In December, we are having Mike Pulis come and attend.
Okay.
So
We
that
could
would
do
probably
it
be a
then.
good time.
Yeah.
Maybe you
can
can have an
somebody-
opinion on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it would
You
be
can tell us
good
what
to
other
get
places
us
are
in.
doing.
It would be great moving forward if, you know, some semblance of lighting would be allowed.
Yes.
But, you know, with the proper guidelines
Right.
for certain.
Were
Well,
you
it's-
thinking of changing out your porch lighting at all to make it better? Or
Well, I mean,
when you're
it's
saying
the-
it's dim, like, what are you saying? It's
Well, I
just-
mean, we kept the, you know, we didn't change that.
Right.
That's, we try, I mean, we've changed very little outside. We've, you know, painted it and things like that, but, I mean, our goal with the building is to drag the past into the present so that it's there for the future. And that's what we've tried to do is on the inside is, you know, I mean, we've got original floors, the brick walls, all those things, but we spruced it up.
Well, it looks really good.
It
You
does,
know.
it does. And this is really good that you brought this up. We need to be talking about this, so it's a good thing.
Yeah. So we'll address
Okay.
it and get
Very
back
good.
with you.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't tell people what they can put up in the way of holiday lights.
Right.
Correct.
Those are temporary.
Some have tried.
Since
Not on
most
this
of us-
board. Okay, next is certificate of appropriateness for 222 Court Street.
Okay, so Jimmy Caldwell is the applicant owner requesting a approval of a certificate of appropriateness to construct a deck located at the rear of the structure. The property is located at 222 Court Street. So the background is that currently there's an existing small wooden deck at the back, and it has wooden stairs leading at the rear, located at the rear of the structure. The findings are that the proposed deck will be an extension / replacement of the existing wooden deck located at the rear of the structure. The deck will be expanded to run from the back door to the southeast corner of the structure. The placement of the stairs will not be changed, however, some treads may be replaced if they're beyond repair. The proposed deck will be constructed of treated wood with bolts and anchors. The decking is proposed to be stained brown, and the railing for the proposed deck will be wooden and painted white. The overall dimensions of the proposed deck are 21 feet long and 12 feet wide, and 8 feet tall from the ground to the deck. From the deck to the top of the railing is proposed to be 43 inches tall. So, as with the existing deck, the proposed deck will be open underneath, supported by wooden post stained brown. The proposed deck and railings will match another existing porch that's on the north elevation of the design. The only difference between the two would be the proposed deck will not have a roof. So basically, what you're looking at for this image, there is no drawing that was
Yeah.
provided. The proposed deck, it just simply says that it would be an extension replacement of the existing wooden deck. So this is the wooden deck we're looking at here in this image, top one on page 7. It's expanded to run along from the back door to the southeast corner of the structure, and the placement of the stairs won't change.
So it'll be on top of the units there.
Correct. So the proposal is to run this
Is
length.
there any way we could get a drawing of this? Because
Yeah,
it's
and
really
I-
hard for me to,
I don't think they're even here tonight.
it's really hard to act on anything without
Mhm.
knowing what materials we're using and what the
Mhm.
finished, exactly it's gonna look like.
The drawing is required.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe we
isn't
should
that
just
part of
do
the
Yeah,
packet?
I'm not entirely sure why we don't have an extended drawing here,
Yeah.
so.
Well, could we just continue this to next
Sure.
Could we just
meeting and
table
ask
it?
for a drawing in the
Okay.
meantime?
Sounds good.
Drawing and a materials list?
Yeah.
It sounds, and I agree with all what they're saying, but it sounds like they're duplicating
It
this.
does. I mean, if that's what they want to do, I think.
Yeah, they are duplicating that at the back, I guess, is what we're saying,
It's just
and
that we
just
don't
running the
know if they're
length.
using
Yeah.
what they're doing. I mean, it's-
Yeah, so it says treated wood with bolts and anchors, the decking will be stained brown, and the railing for the proposed deck will be wooden and painted white,
So we know the materials, we just don't know.
Yeah, we
But
do
even
not-
when you say brown, we should have a paint sample or a stain sample, and, I mean, it's a little incomplete.
Yes, and I apologize
Not,
because,
yeah, well, I'm sorry, I'm not fussing at you.
well, I feel a little bad. Poor Gabe is on his sick bed, so I can't call him and say, I haven't really had any interaction with this one at all, so that I can't really help you all distinguish if
Well, it
if
sounds
it's
pretty
gonna.
straightforward, and they just need to follow the directions and provide us with a
Yeah.
drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This is my first house in town.
It
Oh.
was?
Yes.
Several people own this house.
But not
that's
at
great.
this location.
It was across the street. It was
Oh, they moved the
217 Fourth
house?
Street. It's now
Hmm.
1
Matt Smith, you know, Matt Smith,
Uh-huh.
he grew up in that.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's a house. That deck has probably seen a lot of
It
people
has a
run up and down it.
history.
It has a history.
It's a great house.
All right, so
Okay.
we'll just continue that one.
All right, next
All right.
is a certificate of appropriateness from Mark T. Hurt, 165 West Main Street.
Okay. So Mark T. Hurt is the applicant owner, and Jerry Signs is the representative, and they are asking for a certificate of appropriateness for this sign. Proposed sign will be freestanding. It's carved CNC. It's located at 165 West Main Street. So there's already an existing freestanding sign for Conway Law Firm located at the property.
I think it's gone today.
Is it gone today? Okay, well, maybe our sign folks can tell us if it's already. So that existing structure was constructed of wood, and it was similar to the freestanding sign located at the tavern, so more of that different design. If it's gone, it's gone. So what they're proposing is to remove that sign. In place of the wooden sign, a new metal signpost, so you can see that here in the design. It would be installed with an iron bracket. Both would be painted black. The signpost is the same design and materials compared to the other freestanding sign structure that's located at 159 West Main Street. And the proposed sign will have a white background with black text and gold incorporated into the logo. So, this sign, the upper part here that just says Law Offices of Mark T. Hurt, is 3.75 square feet. So that pretty much takes up the 4 square foot allowance. The bottom sign is 4.5 inches by 30 inches. So you're getting basically a total, if you added them both together, of 4.5 square feet. So they have indicated that, if you all do not approve this portion down here, they understand that it is over the square footage that's currently allowed. So I will turn it over to our representatives.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
State your name and. Just kidding.
I'm Ryan, Jerry Signs.
so
I drove here.
So he has the 2 offices now, is that it?
Is that
That's
what we're-
correct.
And so he has one sign that says Mark T. Hurt, that's the same size as this, and he's adding a second sign at the second building with a drop down below it.
Yes, sir. The intention for the drop down was to be just a simple name annex in it.
Oh, the word annex.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I see.
And that way they can differentiate between the two of them.
The main office and the annex
Yes,
office. Oh, I see what it is.
Right. But they're a little concerned that if they don't have this, people wouldn't really know
It would
where to go.
confuse, right.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So it basically is a half a foot over.
6 inches, yeah.
We for clarification for me, we've allowed nameplates underneath signs before, haven't we? That hang down like that?
I seem to think we have, but I can't remember any specifics.
Seems like.
Go back the road just a little bit.
This direction, you think?
Yes, go to the end right there, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
There we go.
See it a little easier maybe from this side. There we go.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that there's a good reason for wanting to do that it will confuse the customers if they, and it's a very small overage. In this case, I guess, I don't know, maybe I don't know what the total square footage is of that, looking at it, but maybe the primary sign is smaller.
Yeah, I don't know.
I believe it is slightly smaller.
Did you make that one?
Yes, ma'am. I didn't bring the info for it.
Architects engineers on Valley Street, I can't remember their name, they've got something similar to that. Next to the.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the purpose of our guidelines is to not have
Excessive advertising.
excessively big signs.
Right.
So these signs
I'm okay
don't
with
do
this.
that, so I mean,
And you could make that drop-down sign shorter
Yeah.
and still get annex on there in same size typefaces shown here, and it would get closer to the 4 feet.
right.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. See if you can reduce it 25% maybe. Yeah,
They can
it's only
repeat
5
it.
letters, 6 letters, 5 letters.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is one word that he's wanting to put
Yeah.
there.
I will say the primary sign is 3.75 square feet, so the primary sign is less than 4 square feet, if
Yeah.
that helps you all at all.
It does.
I'm trying to compromise.
I think we're trying to approve this.
Well, I know, because if you're looking at the sign, that's basically the building next door with the 3.
It's the exact same
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
No, the one that you just showed us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
right.
that's almost next door, right?
Yes, ma'am, it's
So
3
it's
buildings.
kind of a little block of similar businesses that have similar signs, so I think it would look okay.
Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Me too. Okay, and now, keep going to the wrong place, Peyton.
Paint samples.
We have the certificate of appropriateness for Darius Clifton at 131 East Main Street.
All right, the Darius Clifton has requested approval of a certificate of appropriateness to repaint wooden side trim and front side doors at 131 East Main Street. This is a address that is in Places and Time, Volume 2. It's known as the Samuel Keller House. The brick structure was built in 1909 and replaced a frame house. Later in 1973, Thomas E. George purchased the property, removed the front porch, and altered the facade to its appearance. You will find on page 6 of your staff report that we have, let's see, that we have the paint identified, and the applicant's proposing the main entrance door to be SW6258 tricorn black, and the board and batten side door, siding and trim to be SW7537 Irish cream. Currently, the wooden 6-panel front door and a board and batten wooden side door to the left of the main entrance is also painted a dark green color, and the wood siding and trim are painted an earth and tone cream color. So that is all we have for that one.
Shall I go up? Okay. Steve might have to help. I got it.
Oh, good job.
The other side is on the floor.
Just don't close it then. They come back.
Peyton Boyd, representing Darris, Clifton Alloy, and Martin Alloy, the residents. The only thing I have to add is I have the real paint chip here because obviously the photographic reproduction is kind of worthless. So let me just pass this down. And,
Is this for the siding?
It's
This
for
is
the
for
door.
everything.
Oh.
For the door and the trim.
Okay. Oh, I just saw the front one, I see.
The only difference, the only other color is the black for the entrance door.
Yeah.
It's a lighter color than what's on there now. But the one there is almost a sort of a washed out khaki.
I have one question. So, about the siding. Is this, is the siding in the back going to be painted?
Yes.
So that's part of this? then?
Yes.
Okay, and that's gonna be painted this Irish cream?
No, it's going to be black. Everything in the siding is painted the same as the trim now.
Right.
In the back.
Just correcting everything to this black door and the.
Okay.
All right. Ready for a motion?
I move that we approve it.
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Abstain.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye. Okay. Did we have any public comments?
I had a question on this duck crossing sign. Is that
Yeah.
just something you wanted us to see, or is it?
No, we need to discuss it.
Okay,
It's really cute.
in the very back. of the-
Was that part of the old business matters not on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, why don't we go on to that then?
Okay. So the first requests for matters not on the agenda, that don't quite fall into any of our, our standards, is that we've actually had a request, for a duck crossing sign that, would be visible from Green Spring Road. It is proposed to be placed on the property, not in the road right away, which we wouldn't allow. And obviously, most of us have driven that quite frequently, and we know there's a lot of ducks there, so, a lot of ducks. So, the request is, could that be allowed? It kind of doesn't quite fall into, if somebody just had like a little flag that says springtime, or it doesn't quite fall into the gardening, it really is a sign, so, but it is proposed to be 1 square foot by 1 square foot, so.
Where exactly would it be placed, and is it two-sided?
As far as I know, it's two-sided. They just said that they'd place it on their property and not in the right-of-way.
Well, and so their property is probably, they're probably gonna put it, as far north on their property as possible, in front of the brick house.
I would imagine, yes, but we did not get a site plan.
Where are the ducks put closer to the railroad? I mean, it's in that area where they cross. It's not the thousands of geese that are down in the pond. They don't come up
No,
to
I
the...
don't
Yes.
think, I don't think they're talking about the.
I think there's a bunch of ducks that
Yeah, I've seen-
hang out in
I've seen
that
them up there.
creek by the
Yeah,
railroad.
Right,
Yeah.
and they do have a lot of baby ducks.
Yeah.
And they take their sweet time.
They sure
when
do.
cross.
I think we should do.
Well, we shouldn't put a sign
certainly
saying
allow
slow.
it, yeah.
They'll take that to heart.
I tell you
Very
what,
slow ducks
I tell you
crossing.
what we might be getting
Ducks
to in
read.
England, all over England, there are signs like this with two older people on a camera. And it says elderly crossing.
All right, so do we have a motion on this?
I move to approve it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye. Okay. Guess the next is the,
So this next one on 231 Northwest Valley Street, so this is one that you all reviewed, and if you all remember this, you requested that he come back because we didn't have a design of what the rail would look like. And so it's really honestly a waiver. In your motion, you basically just said he needs to come back. So this is what the proposed rail would look like. Let me pull up the house so everybody is comfortable with the previous knowledge of where we're at. And if you go by, you've seen that they've been doing other portions of the work that was approved for the house. So this is the house. If you recall, they were doing a variety of window repairs. They were replacing, the porch and steps. And then they wanted to replace this railing because it's too short for the current building code standards. And they didn't have any type of a design for it. So this is what they're proposing at this point. So as you can see, enclose the bottom of the post with a 3/4 inch board up to 36 inches above the floor to allow for the rail. And this was the bullnose cap that they're wanting to put, and then the handrail would extend out from that. So you all in that motion had asked for them to return with what that would look like. So this is what they're proposing.
Okay, any comments?
Well, I'll have one. It looks like based on the drawing for the new post, that it looks like it's pretty much like for like with what they're trying to do.
It's similar, except right here, like they had to
Yes.
basically raise this up, so at the
Right.
time, there was some concern and questions about how this feature that's basically right here would then be covered. And so it will be slightly covered, so you can see how this, I'm kind of pointing,
So
but.
this is the existing post, they're not doing a new post.
Right, but you see how they're gonna enclose the bottom here with
And so what
this.
used to happen was the rail would go into the square part of the post, and they're
Yeah.
raising it, so now
Yep.
it's going to be a higher rail going into the existing post at a place where it wasn't meant to be
Yeah.
going
Oh,
to.
okay.
And that's what
I'm
they're
sorry,
doing.
I thought they were doing a new.
No,
Yeah.
just raising it.
And so they're gonna then have a flat piece now with this bullnose cap is what they're proposing. So it would go in more appropriately, because if we just raised it, there was concern that it wouldn't look right
Oh,
going
I
into
see,
the
I see
side.
now. Oh, I see now. Okay.
So what do we need to do?
If you all could make just a motion that you approve the design here with the bullnose cap and the enclosed bottom of the post, I think we'd be fine.
Do that.
Okay?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Okay, so the last item that we have is a request that I sent to you all in the email. Tanya Triplett with the Visitor Center in the town of Abingdon has a festival of trees coming to the Visitor Center. It's proposed to essentially be up from, maybe you could pass out the email just so we all can see it. It's proposed to be up from like November to December. And as part of the sponsorship for the trees, there is a request for a sign to be placed
Thank you.
on the site that would be 30 inches high and 180 inches long. So we're talking about 2.5 feet by 15 feet. It is, the whole entire purpose of the trees is that people would come and they would get to vote on each of the trees, and it's also essentially there's ways that a tree can win. They include bringing a children's book as a donation, or toothpaste and toothbrush as a donation, or animal food, dog or cat food. And the tree that gets the most support through those donations will win, and then all of those donations will be given to the animal shelter as well as the United Way. And so obviously this is quite a large sign to be placed in the historic district. It's also a temporary sign, so again, we have no real allowance or language that allows for any temporary sign. So this is similar to what you all did with the 250-year anniversary signage. We would want a motion to yes, approve, or no, deny, or if there was some other recommendation or a different size that you all want to propose, that could be an option as well.
Are they
So-
hanging that on the fence?
The proposal, they wanted to hang it on the fence, but Tanya said she wasn't really sure that that would be most appropriate, and so I said, okay, well, would you be putting it behind the fence? Because if behind the fence, then no one would see it, and I don't even think it would go through a review process. So she said what they'd really like to do is essentially put it on 2 posts and have it above the fence so that,
Have it higher, so.
yep,
you
so
can
people
see
could
it.
read it.
In the front?
Mm-hmm,
Or on the side?
correct, yes.
Just the one?
Just the one, and so this is what it would say, Festival of Trees. I think the other piece here, for our purposes, is, we don't normally allow off-premise signage, so this is Berry Home Centers, but at the same time, it is, they're the ones sponsoring, they're the ones that would be paying for the actual trees to be donated and then decorated by organizations, so.
So what was her deadline? She wanted November 1st through what, January?
Let's see, do you have the
1st?
email there?
It says November 18th through December.
Yeah.
It just says December.
Yeah, I think through Christmas, definitely.
Okay, are there any other questions?
It probably would go diagonally, I would think, on the corner.
Okay,
You just put it wherever she wants to, I guess, but if you put it on the front, you're blocking the walk.
Are the trees outside or inside?
there will be trees outside, and then there
How are
will
they
be
gonna-
trees inside as well.
How are they gonna take the stuff, the donations in every night, or?
Have not asked her. I thought that same thing when she told me, because obviously if it was raining and you put a bag of dog food out there, that might not be the best thing. So I'm guessing that she will have spaces in the back that she's keeping them separated from each other.
All right. She seems to always have good ideas.
We're ready for a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the banner
Temporary
as
sign.
requested.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens? Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye. Okay, is there any other matters not on the agenda? Do we need to set a work session?
We have one right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hello. Come on up if you'd like.
I'm new to this, so I think I have missed a step here. I'm not on the agenda, I guess. I'm Sue Ray, and I did fill out the form downstairs and turned it in, and I thought that was what I was required to do.
Is that for a certificate of appropriateness or for public comments?
It's for a signage.
Oh, okay.
I belong to the National Society of Colonial Dames of the 17th century, and we...
You all did a placement of a sign at the tavern a few years ago.
Right, we did the tavern.
Right.
And we're proposing, and you're sort of my number one on the agenda here to get everything approved. We're proposing to put a marking sign for the Presbyterian Church because it has had so many years, 250 years, and we think that that would be appropriate for signage. Our little group is like 30 people, and we don't have a lot of money. So I have investigated this with other people who pay for signages. And evidently these two men had cancer or something, and anyway, they put the money in a pool, and they are paying for signages across the country. Now, I haven't checked with the church yet. I have a scheduled meeting with them, and I don't know how they will feel about this. So you're my first step. I was proposing to get a sign similar to the black sports sign that's across the street from the church. It's a road sign type sign on a post. It would be metal. And I was proposing, I thought that it would be better to have it on the sign where they presently have the 250th banner
Across the
up there.
street, across the street from the Wolf Hills and from the.
Right, across the street from the Wolf Hill sign. Anyway, they may choose to have a smaller sign and just have it on the building somewhere, I don't know. But I wanted to get your permission in case they wouldn't mind this type of signage, and because we can get it paid for. It's about $8,000, and our little group cannot afford to pay that, for a sign. But if it's more appropriate to them to have a smaller sign and put it on the building, we will do that. But I wanted to get your input on putting the sign somewhere along there. And as I drove by the other day, I thought, well, the sign could even go back where they have their picnic area. I don't know what you call that, the pavilion, where they celebrate that. But I just wanted your input on this,
Well, so-
because I have to have it all approved by you, by the church, and by our group before I can sign up with this company to get their support for it.
So we would have to, we can only act by you having an application in for the specific sign, and then we would have to see the specific sign, see the dimensions and that kind of thing. We'd have to have, the materials, the dimensions, that type of thing before we could approve it. In terms of our guidelines, I think our guidelines, there's a specific provision with regard to historic signs. Am I right? Am I remembering this correctly? As opposed to,
The Methodist
So for
Church brought
churches?
one to us not too long ago.
maybe I'm not thinking right. But anyway, you would really need to approach the church first and have them give you the okay.
I have an
And-
appointment with them on Election Day,
Okay.
the 8th. And my group we were going to meet this Saturday, but they may have canceled that meeting. But I would meet with them then. Of course, we could do part of it by email with my group and get their approval. We have their approval to do the marking. They were concerned about the price. For a sign that's 22 by 18, a bronze marker is $2,051. So our group could afford that.
So what Rhonda was thinking of in our guidelines, it says signs indicating current use, quote, as opposed to signs designating historic significance may be used only for commercial. So I believe that language was intended to not include historical signs in the number of signs that go with buildings. In other words, if you have a historic building and there's an historical sign on it about the historic significance of the building, then that doesn't count against you for your number of signs. So my thinking is that there's not a problem with adding a sign, but we would still need to know what the materials the sign is going to be made out of, what the proportions of it's going to be. Is it going to be on a post? Is it going to be mounted on the church? All those kinds of things. And there wouldn't be any point in you getting it approved by us until you have the church's approval that they're okay with that. And I guess you could get our approval after that when you actually have an actual sign to submit, and then you could go to whoever you need to go to try to get it financed.
I guess I was looking for guidance from you in how far from the sidewalk would the sign be? For example, if we put it on the side of the church, I thought it wouldn't be good to put it in front, because that is where people walk in and out of the church, and it seemed a little bit intrusive. But I thought if we put it on the side, and then the stained glass windows are in the back there, and where they have their present sign there. And something in my brain said something about 8 feet back from, I don't know if that's the center of the roadway or the sidewalk.
I don't think our guidelines address where the sign goes.
You don't?
I don't
Okay.
believe so. I mean,
Well,
But the zoning ordinance might have something.
right.
Yeah.
There may be
And Sue
another-
called me to get advice on this, and so I directed her to come in to get a application, and she did, but it doesn't look like it went through, huh?
I
When-
gave it to the guy downstairs at that window. And,
Nick is right here. Do you know what date you gave it?
I don't,
When?
I don't remember what date.
I'm in the past week, or?
It's been a month or so ago.
Yeah, it's-
A month
it was while
ago?
Did it have the actual proportions and materials?
No.
I did not do that
Okay.
because the sign would be, the type that I'm thinking about would be the same as a road sign, those historic
Yeah.
signs.
Like the
that
gray,
we have.
the
Like
gray
the gray
ones with the,
yeah.
But then those signs,
Like the gray one.
those are all very regulated by the state, aren't they? Those road signs, and a certain company does those, I think.
I think that's right, the state
So,
does
yeah, I
place
don't
those,
know
but
that
you-
you
but
would
you're
e-
talking, you're about talking getting something similar to that, is that what you're saying?
But if you wanted something
would-
exactly like that, you'd have to go through the state, I think, because they create and do those signs. We don't do those signs.
This group, this classic bronze and, can't read that, my writing, and resources in Ohio, they're the same ones that made this sign for the tavern.
Okay,
And they're the ones that Daughters of the American Revolution use, and Colonial Dames uses those people too, all across the country. So, I have a list of here of all the signages, but that's off topic, I think. But our sign, if we did the one that's along the road sign type thing there, it would be made by these two people who are donating the money. And so the church needs to decide the wordage. And
Yeah, we
It's
don't
to
have
the
any
right,
control
it's to
over the
the right.
wordage.
Is that it?
no, it's further to the right near the mailbox, right there.
Yeah.
This one?
Yes. That, if it's a very small sign that they place.
It's a very small sign. We thought that was appropriate for the
So that's what you're
tavern.
aiming for?
The one that we would be probably doing for the church, because their name is long, it takes a lot of space for the wording. But when I called him, he suggested 22 by 18 for them.
But it would be also on a post, so it's not gonna be on the building. You're kind of looking at something that people would
Well,
walk by on the
the one that
sidewalk.
these guys pay for is on it's a metal post in the ground with a metal sign that's
Okay.
done.
So the ones you all were saying, are the roadway ones.
There's one right down there, the corner of
Yeah.
Main and Pecan, or
Pecan.
Main, yeah.
Two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
right there near the Macione House, I guess I should.
Right on the corner right there.
This.
There.
That's
There.
it, yeah. It would be similar to that.
Okay.
I thought there were two there.
Well, if you bring in a design, our next meeting is December 7th. So if you can
Okay.
get it to us at least before the design and the approval by the church. So that'll be a part that they'll, I mean, you know, we wouldn't want to approve a sign that the church doesn't want on their property. So if you can get
Right.
the approval from the church and bring that, the design and what it looks like, then the board can review it on December
Okay.
7th.
The people who pay for this don't want me to send anything in until I have it all approved. So it's a little tough, you know,
Right,
working in a bag.
right. Well, it sounds like you would need to get the church's approval, then come to us with the specifics, and then once you have our approval, you could go to them to get the funds.
Right, and I need my Colonial Dames group to
Yeah.
approve it too.
Right.
So, but
Okay.
anyway, it's a tedious little project, but this one I think is aluminum. I'm just guessing because I've seen it up close, but it is.
Well, I assumed it was
has-
metal of some sort, but,
It's metal, yeah.
Aluminum is metal.
well, I mean.
Well, I don't know. Well, thank you for your
Well, thank you.
attention.
Yeah, good
Thank
luck.
you.
That
We'll
sounds
look-
like
we'll
you've got
look
a lot
forward
to
to
do.
it.
So I will, your idea about the state is interesting too.
I would contact them. I mean, I don't know what the criteria is for.
Well, this has the Virginia seal.
Yeah, it has the
on-
Virginia seal on the
So I
top.
think it
yeah.
must be at least sanctioned, if
Yeah.
not paid for by the
It's
state.
definitely something. with
Do you
state.
have the name of anybody in the state of Virginia who does signage?
Maybe there's something on the back of that sign. So look at the bottom, there's a little tiny writing down there.
Okay,
I don't know, but I know that if you look at some of those, they have that
For some
state
reason, I
seal.
think we can't go down
but
Main
we
Street
would
with
not need the
Google.
state approval, would
Google
we?
skipped this whole section.
Well, years ago, L.C. Angle was looking to get another one of those signs
Mhm.
somewhere, and he explained to me the procedure that you have to go through. Apparently, the state has so many of those they place a year, and you apply for them, and then there's some state, and then you have to have the funding for it. But I think it's definitely a state, that's definitely a state-placed sign.
Mhm. Well, these people, I looked on their website and they have signages all over the country. C&O Canal in Washington, they did
Right.
a lot of signage. Anyway, I won't bore you with
No,
that.
Well, no,
thank
that's
you.
Thank
really
you for
good.
your attention
Good to
and your
know.
guidance.
Thank you for coming. We look forward to
Okay.
seeing
I
you.
think it's a great project to work on.
But I like the idea of Southwest Virginia getting credit for 250 years
Yeah.
of
Right.
being here. And the
Exactly
people in
right.
Northern Virginia don't have it all.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, are there any other matters not on the agenda? Do we need to set a work session?
So we're meeting on December 7th,
Oh, that's right.
and unless you all want to set a
Is
different
that
date.
Mike Pulis is coming on December
Mhm,
7th?
He is.
Is that a normal meeting?
It is.
Do
Well, I
you
guess we
want-
could just have a work meeting right afterwards.
I
couldn't
mean,
we?
if it doesn't look like if it starts to look like a huge agenda,
Mhm.
maybe you could contact us and we could look at something
Well,
earlier. I don't know.
Maybe let's talk about this. I mean, are we gonna, Mike Pillis is coming all the way down to talk to us, are we just gonna send him out the door and after it's over?
Yes.
Is that what we're gonna do? I guess we'd have to have a meeting otherwise if we wanted to,
What do you mean, send him out the door?
I don't know, take him to dinner or?
I gotcha. I'm like, we're going out for drinks. All right. Yeah, I mean, I guess what we could do when Nick and I put together the agenda, we can have it set up where you have your cases, and then we'll basically transfer into a work session, which we've done in the past sometimes. So we could either go downstairs if we want to do that, or I guess we'll just look at how full the agenda is. If
Well,
we
let's
have,
just, let's sort of talk real quick about what we want on that work session. We want to discuss exterior lighting if we need, let's
Mhm.
make it do that. And then we were going to discuss our stance on solar panels, or are we going to just go with what's in the?
You all
contract?
already made that
So that's
decision.
done.
That's
And We
done.
had something else, though.
I mean, the things that he's coming to speak on, we've arranged with him. He's gonna talk to us about, updating our nomination.
I mean, what he's gonna talk to us about is pretty deep, and it'll take us some time.
Mhm.
Right, but I was thinking we had 2 or 3 things we wanted to have a work session about, and I can't remember what the
Well,
other ones
one was the temporary signage.
were. The temporary signage.
No, yep, yep.
Okay, so the temporary signage and lighting, do you want to just have those as our work
Sounds
items
good.
in case anything else comes up?
Yep.
I can't believe how fast we went through that agenda.
Oh, that was good.
I thought we'd be here at 7.
But my question was, are we just gonna have Mike come and address us, and then when our meeting's over, he'll go on back? And I mean, I guess that's what would happen.
I mean, I'm sure you can invite him to stay. I'm not sure if he was intending to, spend the night or
Oh.
what his,
He might just be driving down for the, yeah.
Where does he live?
I can
Roanoke.
definitely ask
Roanoke.
him.
Roanoke.
Yeah.
Mhm. I can ask him. If he's staying, then by all means, I'd say it'd be great to have something.
Yeah,
Well, then if we do that, then you're going to have to put a notice out too.
right, is that what we'd have
I
to do?
think I can put a notice out, though, that says the meeting will
The
reconvene
meeting
in
will
a tavern.
reconvene in a bar.
Okay. I mean, I'd like to take him out, and anybody would be welcome to join. I just think that'd be a nice thing to do for somebody
Okay.
coming all the way down
I
here.
think so too. I'd be happy to be a part of that.
Okay.
Talk about our normal agenda versus him.
Mhm.
If we had a night like tonight, then we'd be here till way late.
Right.
So maybe we have maybe one or two on the agenda, and then he takes over, and if we have more, then we have a special meeting for them.
Can we
So
do
the-
that?
the other
Maybe we should try to
option-
have our work session not on that same night.
Oh.
Maybe we should have a work session on a different night.
On those two other
Yeah.
topics? Okay,
Don't you
sure,
think?
so
Because
if
he's
you,
not gonna be interested in
No.
hanging around for that.
Well, what
If
about
you
during
all
the
want-
day? Could we do
yeah.
it during the day at lunchtime? Would that
We
be
could.
possible?
I was also gonna say, if you wanted to, we could schedule like a November 16th meeting in 2 weeks. And that way, if we get anything in, like I know Peddling Jacks did not realize that they couldn't just move their sign. Like, if we got anything in the next 2 weeks, or basically within the next week, then we'd have those items and then a work session, if you all would be
So we
interested in
could
that.
do, yeah, we could do
I
that.
could not do that.
No,
I
very,
have
no, so, okay.
the same thing that when I couldn't come on the 5th,
Okay.
it's happening again.
So then the only other option would be the 30th of
Unless we did
November.
it at a different time.
Mhm.
What day is Thanksgiving?
26 or something.
It's the 24th, so 23rd
It's a week
doesn't
early.
work. Yeah, the 23rd doesn't work for most people.
So what was the 30th or something?
Yeah, you could do it on the 30th.
Which
and
is
then-
the week before the
yeah,
work.
Week before our regularly scheduled meeting.
Well, that wouldn't be so bad. I mean, and actually, if we could probably take, you're right, we could put some things on that to make
Mhm.
the meeting where Mike's.
Or
gonna be
you
here
may know by
short.
then, hey, we got nothing.
Or that, but if we
Yeah.
wanna, if we all wanna schedule it, then Nick could set out a reminder tomorrow and say, hey, we're gonna have one on the 30th, and then we can cancel it if we have nothing.
Yeah.
But at least we get it on the books
That's a good
for you
idea.
all.
Yeah.
30th?
So you didn't know you
Is
had
that-
to
is
work
that a
24/7,
Wednesday?
did you?
It is a Wednesday. I keep them on Wednesday so that it's easy for you all to
So we would be
remember.
Wednesday at 5:15.
Mm-hmm.
The
Which
30th.
means that you get one more meeting with us.
The 30th. Gosh, who's gonna take your place?
We can talk about that.
Some
later.
lucky
Oh,
person.
Kurt. Yeah, so the 30th then.
Okay,
We'll
the 30th
schedule the
30th at
30th.
5:15.
All right.
All right, do we have any other matters? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call?
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye. Okay.